Hello, and welcome to Boring History for Sleep. If you find comfort in quiet voices, long-forgotten facts, and the slow unraveling of life's harsh realities, you're in the right place. Before we begin our journey into the weary world of ancient Rome, consider gently tapping the like button. It tells the algorithm that you enjoy falling asleep to forgotten misery. And if you'd like to drift off with us again, you can subscribe and join our growing circle of quietly curious minds. Now, close your eyes and let the dust of the Roman Empire settle softly over your thoughts. The uncomfortable life of a Roman city dweller. The noise begins before the light. Even in the dark, the streets are alive. Wooden wheels creak, donkeys bray. Someone curses as a pot crashes down a stairwell. You open your eyes and realize you've barely slept. You lie on a straw mat 2 floors above the street in a cramped insular or Roman apartment. The room is narrow. The walls are thin. You can hear everything: the woman coughing next door, the old man groaning above you, the rats scratching inside the beams. The wood smells damp. The air smells worse. There is no plumbing here. The latrine is downstairs and down the street. Most people use chamber pots and dump them out the window. You learn quickly not to walk close to the walls. You stand. Your legs are stiff. The stairs down to the street are crooked. You duck to avoid a hanging basket of drying fish. On your way out, you step over a beggar curled against the doorframe. His skin is pale. He doesn't move. You breathe the city. In it is a smell you cannot escape. It is smoke and sweat and sewage and old wine and the faint metallic sting of blood. The streets are narrow, sometimes no wider than 2 arms lengths. The walls loom above, cracked and leaning. If a building collapses today, and sometimes they do, you might not hear it coming. You're lucky to live only 3 stories up. The wealthier citizens live on the 1st floor. They have access to running water, private latrines, shaded courtyards. You have peeling plaster and a small window that lets in more noise than light. You are not unemployed, but you are poor. Your work is irregular. You might carry goods for a merchant, sweep the bathhouse floors, or help load grain sacks near the river. Today, you walk toward the forum, hoping for a day's wages from a stonemason in need of hands. On your way, you pass the market. It is already full of sound. Merchants shout, chickens squawk. Someone is arguing over the weight of a melon. You keep your head down. You can't afford melons. You haven't eaten yet. You consider a crust of bread for a single copper coin. Instead, you keep walking. You pass a public fountain. There are 3 men waiting in line to fill their jars. The water runs clear today. Sometimes it's cloudy, sometimes not at all. The aqueducts are a marvel of engineering, they say. You only care when they work, and when they don't. A child runs past you barefoot. She laughs. Her tunic is too big. She disappears around the corner. You almost smile. But then a guard shouts at you to move along, and you do. You make it to the forum. There is no work. You sit under a statue of Jupiter, feet swollen, stomach hollow. A philosopher is arguing with himself nearby. A drunk tries to sell you a carved spoon. You decline. Eventually you find work hauling bricks for a bathhouse under renovation. The work is hot. The stones are heavy. The overseer hits you when you move too slow. You sweat through your tunic. You cut your palm. You keep going. At midday you pause for food. A handful of olives and lentils. Someone shares a slice of cheese. You drink from a clay cup passed around by the workers. You try not to think about where their mouths have been. The bathhouse looms beside you. It is beautiful, marble floors, mosaic walls, and heat pouring from the hypocaust beneath. You will not be allowed to bathe today. The cost is too high. You once went to the public baths. The water was tepid, the benches wet. You scrubbed yourself with oil and a strigil as the others did. Someone stole your belt while you weren't looking. Later that day you see a funeral procession. Musicians play thin, sad pipes. Mourners cry. You wonder who died. You wonder if they died of plague or age or hunger. You wonder if anyone will. Cry when you're gone. You walk back to your building. A group of children throw rocks at a stray dog. You tell them to stop. They throw rocks at you instead. You keep walking. Your neighbor greets you on the stairs. She's missing 2 teeth. Her husband died in the arena. He wasn't a gladiator, just a vendor caught in the wrong place. She offers you soup. It is mostly water, with a single bean floating in the middle. That night, the sounds return. The street is never quiet. You close your eyes, wishing for silence. Instead, you hear arguments, drunken songs, the sobbing of a woman alone, the flutter of pigeons nesting in the rafters. You drift to sleep thinking of the Tiber, of the countryside you once left behind, of the smell of grass and trees. You miss silence, you miss space, you miss the stars, and in the morning the noise will start again. The days blur together in this noisy, overcrowded city. The small pleasures are few. A cool breeze through a cracked window. The taste of fresh bread bought before the price rises. A fleeting smile from a neighbor, but the struggles remain. Illness spreads quickly. The summer heat is relentless, and the winter cold bites deep in the stone and mortar walls. You hear rumors of fires. Last year, a whole block burned down. Families lost everything. The city rebuilt quickly, but the scars remain. You know the risk, but there is nowhere else to go. Water is precious. The aqueducts sometimes fail, and when they do, the fountains run dry. People fight over the clean water. You remember the taste of river water, muddy but better than nothing. The city's magistrates make laws you barely understand. Punishments are harsh. Pickpockets are flogged publicly. Slaves who run away are hunted. Citizens grumble but obey. Fear is constant. At night, the lamps flicker in the streets. Shadows stretch long and deep. You hear footsteps, whispers, the occasional shout. Crime is common. You keep your few coins close and your eyes sharper. Life in Rome is a balancing act between survival and despair. The grandeur of the empire, the marble statues, the triumphal arches, the Senate seems a world away from your daily grind. The empire is for the rich and powerful. For you, it is a place to endure. Tomorrow, you will wake to the same sounds, the same smells, the same crowded, dangerous streets, but you will wake, and you will live another day, the uncomfortable life of a Roman city dweller. The noise begins before the light. Even in the dark, the streets are alive. Wooden wheels creak. Donkeys bray. Someone curses as a pot crashes down a stairwell. You open your eyes and realize you've barely slept. You lie on a straw mat 2 floors above the street in a cramped insular or Roman apartment. The room is narrow. The walls are thin. You can hear everything. The woman coughing next door, the old man groaning above you, the rats scratching inside the beams. The wood smells damp. The air smells worse. There is no plumbing here. The latrine is downstairs and down the street. Most people use chamber pots and dump them out the window. You learn quickly not to walk close to the walls. You stand. Your legs are stiff. The stairs down to the street are crooked. You duck to avoid a hanging basket of drying fish. On your way out, you step over a beggar curled against the doorframe. His skin is pale. He doesn't move. You breathe the city. It is a smell you cannot escape. It is smoke and sweat and sewage and old wine and the faint metallic sting of blood. The streets are narrow, sometimes no wider than 2 arms' lengths. The walls loom above, cracked and leaning. If a building collapses today, and sometimes they do, you might not hear it coming. You're lucky to live only 3 stories up. The wealthier citizens live on the 1st floor. They have access to running water, private latrines, shaded courtyards. You have peeling plaster and a small window that lets in more noise than light. You are not unemployed, but you are poor. Your work is irregular. You might carry goods for a merchant, sweep the bathhouse floors, or help load grain sacks near the river. Today you walk toward the forum, hoping for a day's wages from a stonemason in need of hands. On your way you pass the market. It is already full of sound. Merchants shout, chickens squawk, someone is arguing over the weight of a melon. You keep your head down. You can't afford melons. You haven't eaten yet. You consider a crust of bread for a single copper coin. Instead, you keep walking. You pass a public fountain. There are 3 men waiting in line to fill their jars. The water runs clear today. Sometimes it's cloudy, sometimes not at all. The aqueducts are a marvel of engineering, they say. You only care when they work, and when they don't, a child runs past you barefoot. She laughs. Her tunic is too big. She disappears around the corner. You almost smile. But then a guard shouts at you to move along, and you do. You make it to the forum. There is no work. You sit under a statue of Jupiter, feet swollen, stomach hollow. A philosopher is arguing with himself nearby. A drunk tries to sell you a carved spoon. You decline. Eventually you find work hauling bricks for a bathhouse under renovation. This work is hot. The stones are heavy. The overseer hits you when you move too slow. You sweat through your tunic, you cut your palm, you keep going. At midday you pause for food, a handful of olives and lentils. Someone shares a slice of cheese. You drink from a clay cup passed around by the workers. You try not to think about where their mouths have been. The bathhouse looms beside you. It is beautiful. Marble floors, mosaic walls, and heat pouring from the hypocaust beneath. You will not be allowed to bathe today. The cost is too high. You once went to the public baths. The water was tepid, the benches wet. You scrubbed yourself with oil and astringent as the others did. Someone stole your belt while you weren't looking. Later that day you see a funeral procession. Musicians play thin, sad pipes. Mourners cry. You wonder who died. You wonder if they died of plague or age or hunger. You wonder if anyone will cry when you're gone. You walk back to your building. A group of children throw rocks at a stray dog. You tell them to stop. They throw rocks at you instead. You keep walking. Your neighbor greets you on the stairs. She's missing 2 teeth. Her husband died in the arena. He wasn't a gladiator, just a vendor caught in the wrong place. She offers you soup. It is mostly water with a single bean floating in the middle. That night, the sounds return. The street is never quiet. You close your eyes, wishing for silence. Instead, you hear arguments, drunken songs, the sobbing of a woman alone, the flutter of pigeons nesting in the rafters. You drift to sleep, thinking of the Tiber, of the countryside you once left behind, of the smell of grass and trees. You miss silence, you miss space, you miss the stars. And in the morning, the noise will start again. The days blur together in this noisy, overcrowded city. The small pleasures are few. A cool breeze through a cracked window. The taste of fresh bread bought before the price rises. A fleeting smile from a neighbor, but the struggles remain. Illness spreads quickly. The summer heat is relentless, and the winter cold bites deep in the stone and mortar walls. You hear rumors of fires. Last year, a whole block burned down. Families lost everything. The city rebuilt quickly, but the scars remain. You know the risk, but there is nowhere else to go. Water is precious. The aqueducts sometimes fail, and when they do, the fountains run dry. People fight over the clean water. You remember the taste of river water, muddy but better than nothing. The city's magistrates make laws you barely understand. Punishments are harsh. Pickpockets are flogged publicly. Slaves who run away are hunted. Citizens grumble but obey. Fear is constant. At night the lamps flicker in the streets. Shadows stretch long and deep. You hear footsteps, whispers, the occasional shout. Crime is common. You keep your few coins close and your eyes sharper. Life in Rome is a balancing act between survival and despair. The grandeur of the empire, the marble statues, the triumphal arches, the Senate, seems a world away from your daily grind. The empire is for the rich and powerful. For you, it is a place to endure. Tomorrow, you will wake to the same sounds, the same smells, the same crowded, dangerous streets, but you will wake, and you will live another day. Campaign. The ground is cold, the stars are still out. You wake before dawn, because the horn sounds before light. It always does. The camp stirs in the dark like a restless beast. Cloaks rustle, boots thud into the earth, shields clink, men grumble. You lie in a ditch next to your pack. It is not warm. You pull your wool cloak tighter, but the cold seeps through it anyway. The embers of last night's fire are grey. You didn't sleep well. You never do on campaign. You are a Roman legionary. Or more accurately, one of tens of thousands of anonymous men sworn to serve Rome far from home. You've been stationed in Gaul for nearly a year. You are 23. You've marched over 600 miles on foot. Your feet are scarred. Your knees ache. You smell like leather, sweat and smoke. Your armor is heavy. Your lorica segmentata, the banded iron chest plate, pinches your shoulders. You wear it anyway. It's safer that way. Safer, but not safe. You put on your belt, your dagger, and sling your shield across your back. Then you eat a chunk of hard bread and dried meat. It cracks a tooth and you don't complain. Today you march. There is no battle, there rarely is, but still you march. Rome demands presence, power, and projection. You and your cohort will march for 5 hours through wet forests and rocky hills just to be seen. The orders are given. The horn sounds again. You fall into line. Your centurion's voice echoes in the dawn. The column stretches behind you, hundreds long. It moves slowly but relentlessly. Each step lands heavy in the mud. You hear the sound of hobnailed sandals, grinding gravel. You are not alone. To your left, a man from Hispania. To your right, a veteran from Sicilia who lost 3 fingers at the Rhine. Behind you, the camp mule, always braying, always stubborn. You carry your sasana, a pack that weighs more than a child, filled with cookware, rations, a cloak, stakes for the next camp, and personal trinkets. Your back hurts. Your mouth is dry. Your shield rubs your hip. You are not allowed to speak. The discipline is strict. Talking means lashes. Lashes mean blood. So you think instead, you think about the farm you left, about the hills of your homeland, about that one girl who gave you a ribbon and smiled. You haven't seen her in 3 years. You doubt she remembers your name. You march. You pass a village. The locals glare. One throws a clump of mud. A legionary beside you lifts his pilum threateningly. The locals scatter. The march continues. You are told you bring civilization, but they never seem glad to see you. By midday, the sun is out. The flies return. Your tunic clings to your back. Your boots are soaked through. The camp is still miles away. Eventually you stop, not to rest, to build. Each night a new camp. Each camp must be fortified. Ditches are dug. Palisades are raised. Stakes are hammered. No exceptions. Everyone works. The centurions shout. The earth is dry and hard. Your hands bleed. No one cares. You dig with a wooden spade, shoulders burning. You lift timbers into place. You collapse when the horn sounds again. It is evening now. The camp is in order. Tents up, fires lit, guards posted. You sit on the dirt and eat barley mash and half a turnip. You drink warm wine from a skin. It tastes of old leather. You drink anyway. A scout returns. No enemy nearby, just rumors, always rumors. Barbarians, rebels, bandits, witches, wolves. You fought some, not all. Sometimes you fight wind and shadows. At night, you clean your weapons. You oil your gladius. You whisper a prayer to Mars. Then you sleep, barely. You sleep in your armor. You sleep with one eye half open. You dream of silence. You never find it. Some nights, men disappear. A latrine trip that ends in silence. A god found with his throat cut. The forest swallows them whole. You pretend not to notice. Other nights, the sky is clear. You see stars. You remember stories your grandfather told. You feel human again, but the horn will sound soon and the spell breaks. The next day, you march again. Some days you train. endless drills, shield formations, sword strokes, marches. With added weight, the centurion inspects your posture. If your armor is dusty, you're flogged. If your boots aren't laced, you're flogged. If your javelin is crooked, you're flogged. Discipline keeps order. Order keeps Rome alive. The medical tent smells like wine and rot. The surgeon has a bronze scalpel and bad eyesight. You saw him cut off a foot yesterday. He used a rock to hold the man down. The man didn't scream. He fainted too fast. You try not to end up there. Sometimes there is combat. It comes quickly. A horn blast, an order. You form ranks. The enemy charges. You plant your shield. You wait. Then the shouting begins. The shield wall is tight. You cannot move. You swing blindly. You feel contact. You hear bones break. You smell blood. A man beside you screams. You don't look. You push forward. You survive. That's enough. Afterward, you bury the dead. Sometimes not. Sometimes you burn them. Sometimes you don't have time. Victories are quiet. There are no parades here. Just silence, broken by coughing and the groan of carts filled with the wounded. Your hands shake, your mouth tastes of metal, your eyes sting from the smoke. But the next day you march again. You are paid in coin, barely enough. Sometimes the paymaster delays it. Sometimes the coins are clipped or false. You keep them anyway. You think of home. You think of wine. You think of warm bread. But for now, you drink from your water skin. You eat dry beans. You stare at the campfire and wonder how many more years are left in your 25-year service. You are not a hero. You are a cog in a war machine, one piece among thousands. Tomorrow you will march again. The quiet burden of Roman womanhood. You wake before the sun. You always do. The city is still dark, but you've learned to move through the dim light by habit. The coals in the kitchen have nearly gone cold. You blow gently on them, fingers numb from the early chill. One spark remains. It glows, then fades. You try again. This time it catches. Your name is forgotten in history. You are not an empress, not a goddess in marble, not a name etched in stone. You are an ordinary woman in Rome, perhaps a freedwoman, perhaps the wife of a citizen, or a slave. The line is thin, and sometimes it vanishes. The morning smells of ash and damp clay. You prepare the fire and grind grain for porridge. Your hands ache from years of repetition. They are cracked, calloused, familiar with pain. There are no servants to help you. You are the servant. You dress quickly in your tunic, long and worn, tied at the waist. You arrange your hair into a modest braid. There is no mirror here. You feel your face with your hands. You have grown thin. Your eyes are tired. You have lived many years, though you are still young. Your husband, if you have one, sleeps still. Or he has gone already to the forum, or to the market, or to his mistress. Your children, if they have survived, will wake soon. Some do not wake at all. The water must be fetched. You carry the amphora on your shoulder, walking carefully across the cracked stones. The fountain is far. On the way, you pass other women, heads lowered, children clinging to their robes. You nod politely but do not speak. Words cost energy. At the fountain, the queue is long. Women gossip quietly. Someone's husband was caught stealing. Another's daughter is being courted by a baker's apprentice. The old woman in the back has come with a bucket instead of a jug. She moves slowly. You let her go ahead. The water is cold, heavy. You carry it home, trying not to spill. You think of your mother and her mother before her doing the same. You wonder if their backs ached too. Inside, you begin the chores. The floor must be swept, the ash dumped, the beans sorted, the child changed, the chamber pot emptied, the porridge stirred. You do it without thinking, a pattern etched into you like the mosaic on the atrium floor. Your stomach grumbles. You do not eat first. You feed the children first, then the men. If there are any, you eat the crust. You chew slowly, letting your mind drift. Sometimes you leave home. Not for leisure, never for leisure. You go to the market. The stalls are loud, the air thick with the smell of garlic, onions, sweat. You haggle over fish. You test figs for ripeness. You do mental math with worn coins. The baker flirts with you. You do not smile. It is not safe to smile. Back home, you spin thread, you sew, you patch. You wash clothes in a basin with lye and cold water. Your knuckles turn red. You kneel for hours. Your fingers go numb. You learn to ignore pain. Pain is part of the routine. In the courtyard, your neighbor is giving birth. Her screams echo through the walls. You do not look. You have seen it before. The blood, the silence that follows if the baby does not cry. You light a small lamp and whisper a prayer to Juno. You remember your own childbirth, the warm rush of water, the tearing, the fear, the relief. The child survived. Then fever came. Then silence. You are a woman in Rome. You bear life, and sometimes you bury it. You light the evening lamp. You prepare the meal. If there is meat, it is rare. If there is wine, you water it down. The men talk, the children cry. You eat last. Again. You clean in silence. You mend the robes. You count the eggs. You whisper to the gods. You pray for health, for safety, for peace. You pray not to be noticed, not by men, not by fate. In the night, if your husband calls you, you go. If he doesn't, you lie still. The straw mattress scratches your skin. The ceiling is dark. You hear the distant rumble of wheels. Somewhere, a dog barks. Somewhere, a baby cries. You sleep with your hands curled in fists. The days are long. The seasons pass without ceremony. You bleed each month, hide the cloth, bury the rags. No one speaks of it. No one asks. You do not enter temples when bleeding. You do not touch offerings. You do not question. Sometimes you find joy, a child's laugh, the smell of warm bread, a quiet moment by the fire. You hold these like treasures, tiny and fleeting. They are yours alone. Your body is not your own. The state counts you as a womb, a vessel, a name on a census next to a man's. Your name changes when you marry. Your property belongs to him. Your dowry is a number, your worth a calculation. If your husband dies, you may be free. Or not, it depends. You may remarry, or be sent back to your father's home. If he lives, he decides. Always. You're expected to be modest, loyal, obedient. You're taught to spin, to cook, to remain silent in public. If you speak, it must be gently. If you walk, it must be with care. If you err, the gods will see. Education, if you receive it, is basic. You learn to read simple texts, perhaps to write. You recite prayers, memorize the names of the gods, learn the patterns of the household. You are not taught politics, rhetoric, or poetry. Those are for men. You do not attend the Senate, you do not vote, you do not speak in the forum, but you listen, and you remember. You pass wisdom through stories, through lullabies, through recipes, and whispered warnings. Your knowledge is not written in scrolls, but in gestures, glances, in the way you twist a knot of wool or grind flour with steady rhythm. You are invisible in statues. You are absent from history, but you are everywhere. In the home, your hands make the bread, the clothes, the fire. You are the pulse beneath the marble. Years pass. Your body bends. Your hair grays. You teach the young girls what you were taught, how to sew, how to carry water, how to endure. You tell them not to hope for too much. You tell them to keep their heads low. You tell them stories of goddesses who suffered, queens who fell, wives who waited. You sit in the sun and rub your aching knees. You remember the names of your children. Some still live, some do not. You remember the smell of their skin, their first cries, their first steps. You remember the softness of their hair. At night, you light the lamp again. You listen to the wind against the shutters. You wonder if your life has meant anything. You wonder what the gods think of women like you. You fall asleep in silence. Tomorrow, you will rise again before the sun. The blood beneath the sand, life as a Roman gladiator. The world is dark when you open your eyes. You don't know how long you've been here. The cell is small, damp, carved of stone. There is no bed, only straw scattered across the floor. It smells of sweat, blood, and wet iron. You shift your weight and your bruises complain. Your name was once something simple. It has been taken from you. You are property now. You are not a citizen. You are not a man. You are a gladiator in training, novitius, and your life belongs to the lanista, the man who bought you. You were not always like this. Perhaps you were captured in war, taken from your homeland by Roman legions and sold like livestock. Perhaps you were a criminal condemned to fight. Or maybe, desperate and hungry, you sold yourself into slavery to survive. Whatever your path, it led here, beneath the sand and roar of the Roman arena. The others around you groan as they rise. The sun hasn't touched the yard yet, but you know the drill. You will train before light, during light, and after light fades. There is no freedom, only repetition. You are marched outside into the yard of the ludus, the gladiator school. Dust swirls in the air. Wooden walls surround you like a pen. The sun is rising behind the tower, casting long, hard shadows across the sand. Your body aches. Your arms are sore, your legs throb, but you stand. A trainer watches with cold eyes. He carries a whip, though he rarely needs to use it. Pain is already your companion. You fear worse things than the lash. Starvation, execution, humiliation in front of your peers. You begin your drills. First you run, laps around the training ground. Dust coats your skin. Your sandals slap against the dry earth. Sweat stings your eyes. There is no time to think. Then come the wooden swords. Rudies. Not real, not yet. You must prove you're worth the cost of steel. You spar with another man, eyes locked, lungs burning. You are taught to fight, not only to survive, but to entertain. That is the difference. In battle, a soldier kills. In the arena, a gladiator performs. Every swing must be clean, every movement deliberate. You are not just a killer, you are a spectacle. The doctor, your drill master, calls you forward. He corrects your posture, your grip. You repeat the movement again and again, step, slash, block, step, thrust, over and over until your arms are heavy as marble. Some fall from exhaustion. They are dragged to the side and left to recover, or not. You eat twice a day, once in the late morning, once in the evening. The food is plain but filling: barley porridge, lentils, bread, sometimes cheese, rarely meat. They need you strong, but not too spoiled. You drink water or watered-down vinegar wine. You are watched constantly. You do not leave the training yard unless permitted. You do not speak freely. Your life is not yours. At night, you return to your cell. You wipe the sand from your body with a rag. There is no bath unless you earn it. The torchlight flickers in the corridor. You hear the breathing of other men, the creak of wood, the occasional cough. You lie on the straw and stare at the ceiling. You think of your home if you had one. You think of the crowd above you, waiting to scream your name, or someone else's. In time, you are given armor. Not much. A helmet, a shield, perhaps greaves or an arm guard. What you wear depends on your class. You might be a murmillo, heavy shield, gladius, plumed helmet, or a retiarius, net and trident, unarmored, fast. Maybe a secutor chasing a net fighter, helmet smooth to avoid the snare. Each type has its match. Each duel is crafted for balance, style, contrast. You are part of a living game. Then the day comes, your first match. You are led into the hypogym, the underground chambers of the arena. The air is hot, thick, tense. Men pray, pace, weep. You are dressed in your gear. Your heart beats like a war drum. You hear the roar above, thousands of voices cheering, chanting, laughing. You wait behind the gate. The iron bars rise, light floods in. The arena is enormous. Stone stands filled with people, sun blazing overhead, sand white as bone. You squint against the glare. Across from you stands another man. He looks just as scared, just as strong, just as desperate. You step forward. The crowd roars. The trumpets blare. The fight begins. There is no plan, only instinct. You swing, block, move. The world narrows to your opponent's eyes and the weight of your weapon. Blood is spilled. The crowd gasps. You do not know if it's yours. He falls. You stand over him, breathing hard. Your body shakes. You look to the editor, the sponsor of the game, seated in a position of power. He raises his hand, thumbs up. The man is spared. You leave the arena alive. You are lucky, but not every match ends that way. You've seen death, you've heard it, the wet sound of metal through flesh, the silence after a final scream. You've seen the crowd cheer louder. For death than for mercy, you try not to remember. You become known. If you survive, the crowd remembers you. They chant your name. Some cheer for you every time. You start to fight with flair. You learn to make them love you. A good gladiator lives longer, not because he is better, but because he is more valuable. You are still a slave. But for a moment, you are powerful. Your face appears on painted walls. Children imitate your moves. Merchants sell figurines with your name, but the fame does not last. You age. You slow. Your shoulder aches every morning. Your knee cracks. You hide it from the doctor, but he knows. He always knows. One day, you hear a rumor. The editor of the next games has asked for a spectacle, a bloodbath, all combatants to fight, to the death. No exceptions. You sit in your cell that night and think, will you fight again? Will you live? Will the crowd remember you tomorrow? You trace the lines in the stone wall. Each one a mark for a fight survived. Shadows behind the walls. The life of a Roman prisoner. You do not know how many days have passed since the door last opened. Your body is stiff. Your stomach growls, then quiets, then growls again. Time slips away in this place. Light is rare. Sound is muffled. The walls are rough and damp. The air smells of mildew, rust, and unwashed flesh. You are in a Roman carcer. It is not like the modern image of a prison. There are no rows of cells with iron bars, no guards patrolling wide corridors with lanterns. Instead, you sit in a stone chamber deep beneath the ground. The entrance is a single wooden door reinforced with bronze. Above it, in older times, there may have been an oculus, a hole in the ceiling that allowed guards to drop food, water, or even bodies. The walls are carved into rock. The floor is uneven. There are chains on the walls. Some are empty, others are not. You weren't always. Here, maybe you were a petty thief. Maybe you owed money. Maybe you were accused of insulting the gods or stealing a coin from a temple. Or maybe you were just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Rome is not a city of fairness. It is a city of order, and punishment serves that order. You remember the arrest, the clatter of hobnailed sandals on the street, the shout, "In nomine senatus," in the name of the Senate. You tried to run. If you succeed, you were dragged to the praetor or magistrate. There was no long trial. Witnesses were called. Accusers stepped forward. You were not allowed a lawyer unless you had wealth or friends. Most like you don't. The verdict came quickly. Guilty. The punishment? Prison. Not for punishment, not really. Roman prisons are not meant for long-term sentences. They are holding pens. Places for the accused, the condemned, the forgotten. Some wait here for their execution, some for their appeal, some for transfer to the mines or the galleys. You are among them. There is no bed, only straw rotting and crawling. Your neighbors groan in their sleep or don't sleep at all. Some are quiet, lips moving constantly in prayer. Others talk to themselves endlessly, voices hoarse, eyes wild. You drink water from a cracked jug. Sometimes it is clear, often it is not. You eat what is given, if it is given. Bread, a lump of porridge, bits of fish if you're lucky. The jailers do not care if you eat. You are not their burden. If you die, it is one less mouth. You learn to sit still, to listen. Rats live in the walls. You hear their claws in the night. Sometimes they fight. You cover your face with your arm, try to sleep through it. Some days, you are brought out, chained. To others, lined up in the torch-lit hallway. You do not know where you're going. Some are whipped, some are branded, some are marched out to labor on the roads or aqueducts. If you're strong enough, they might send you to the mines. A death sentence slower than the arena. You've seen the condemned pass by. They wear signs around their necks. Their crimes, written in charcoal. Some have their hands tied. Some walk, with their heads down, silent. Others curse and spit, knowing their fate is sealed. The Tullianum is the worst. It is deep under the Capitoline Hill, near the Forum. It is Rome's oldest and most feared prison. There, enemies of the state are, kept before execution. Jugurtha died there, so did Sejanus. There is no window, no bed, no light, just a pit and a sense of finality. It smells of blood and urine and despair. You hear stories. You pray you are never taken there. Your hair grows long. Your nails curl. You have not bathed in weeks. Your clothes cling to your skin, stiff with grime. You no longer speak unless you must. Words feel heavy in your mouth. The silence of the cell teaches you to retreat inward. Sometimes someone is called out and never returns. Sometimes someone is dragged in, half-conscious, bleeding from the head. A man near you coughs blood. He has done so for days. No one tends. To him, he will not last the week. No one speaks of it. You dream often now of light, of sun on your face, of the smell of figs and the sound of sandals on the stone street, of the sea, of laughter, of a bowl of soup, warm and clean. But when you wake, there is only the cell. Then one day the door opens. Your name is called. You rise. Slowly, every joint aches. You cannot remember how long it has been. You shuffle forward. A chain is clamped around your neck, another around your waist. You are led up the stairs. The light burns your eyes. You blink against the sun. The air smells of dust and smoke. People stare as you pass. You hear a child ask what you did. The mother hushes them. You do not know where you go, but the man holding the chain says one word. Execution, you nod. It is better than the cell. The fields of dust. Life as a Roman soldier on campaign. You wake to the clang of metal. The sun has barely crested the hills beyond the horizon, but the camp is already stirring. Leather tents rustle. Sandals slap against packed dirt. The scent of cooked barley and ash floats through the crisp morning air. A horn blows long and low. You are a Roman legionary, and you are far from home. Your hands ache as you unroll yourself from your cloak. It served as your blanket. Your armor is cold. Your body is colder. You slept little. The wind whistled through the open plains all night, and the distant howl of wolves, or something worse, echoed now and then across the hills. You are not in Rome. You may not see Rome again. You eat quickly. A crust of bread, hard as stone, a strip of salted pork, a handful of olives if you're lucky. You drink water from a skin, brackish but necessary. Then you gather your equipment, your helmet, polished but dented, your lorica segmentata, stiff with old sweat and rusted in its hinges, your gladius, short and heavy, your scutum, the great curved shield that presses into your shoulder like a burden. There is no time to complain. The centurion shouts, and the men fall into line. Rows of tired faces, unshaven and weary, you are assigned your position in the march. Today the army moves. Campaigning in the Roman Empire is not glory, it is work. You march for hours, each step kicks up dust. The heat swells, the line snakes. Across valleys, through forests, up hills. You carry everything, food, tools, weapons, stakes for the nightly palisade. The weight bends your spine. Your feet bleed inside your sandals. You say nothing. A mule collapses, the driver curses. The animal is beaten until it rises. There is no room for weakness here, not among men, not among beasts. At midday you rest, you eat again. Dried lentils, some figs, a thin soup boiled in. An iron pot. You sharpen your sword while you eat. You do not rest long. The march resumes. By nightfall the army stops. Then the real work begins. You dig the ditch. You raise the rampart. You help place sharpened stakes. A camp must be defensible. Always, even in friendly territory. The Roman army does not sleep without. Its teeth bared. You pitch your tent with your tent mates. 8 men to 1 canvas. You know them all well. Their snores, their tempers, their fears. One used to be a farmer, another a thief. One speaks little Latin but swings a blade like a butcher. You are brothers now, forged not by blood but by discipline. You clean your feet if there is water. You oil your armor if you have oil. You check your gear again and again. Discipline is survival. You eat again. You play dice. You tell quiet stories of home, of lovers, of lost battles and dead friends. The fire is low. The stars are high. Then sleep takes you, and the next day is the same, and the next. Sometimes you arrive at a village. Sometimes you fight. You hear the horns before you see the enemy. You form up shield to shield, the centurion shouts. You march forward, arrows fly. You raise the scutum. They clatter and stick. The gladius is for stabbing, not slashing. You drive it forward again and again into the soft spots between armor. You feel bodies against yours. The stink of blood and iron fills your lungs. Screams drown in the roar of the charge. Then it is over. You live. Or you do not. You bury the dead. Both sides. You loot the bodies. You say a prayer if you still believe. Then the march continues. In the spring you build roads. In the summer you dig wells. In the winter you shiver in faraway forts, watching snow fall on foreign soil. You are always working, always waiting. A legion never sleeps. Sometimes you are paid. Coins stamped with the emperor's face. Sometimes it is late. Sometimes it never comes. You grow older. Your back bends. Your teeth loosen. You collect scars. You lose friends. One falls from a cliff during a march. Another takes an arrow in the neck and dies without a sound. One vanishes in the night. You never ask what happened. You write letters home, if you can write. Most can't. A clerk does it for you. You dictate the words. You say you are healthy, that you are proud, that Rome is strong. You do not mention the lice or the cold or the fear. You fight again. This time the enemy is clever. They feint, they flank. Your line bends. Your centurion is killed. You hold, you pray, you survive. You are promoted or punished. Maybe both. You dream of discharge 25 years, they said. You count the days. But time blurs. Campaign follows campaign. One province becomes another. One rebellion becomes another. You lose track of the wars. You only know the faces beside you. Some new, most tired. Finally it comes. Discharge. You are given land or a small pension. A certificate written in Latin, stamped and folded. You are no longer a soldier, but you do not feel free. Your knees ache, your hands tremble. You miss the order, the drum, the voice of the centurion. You sleep in a bed but wake at dawn. You dream of marching feet. You are home, but part of you never left. The road, quiet steps, a day in the life of a Roman house slave. The day begins before the sun. You open your eyes not because you are rested, but because the soft sound of footsteps outside your door signals the overseer is making his rounds. You do not have a name anymore, only a function. You are a service, a house slave. And your duty today, as every day, is to work in silence. You live in the ergastulum, the slave quarters at the edge of the villa. It is dark, with low ceilings and few windows. You sleep on straw, your tunic rolled beneath your head. You are one of many. Some here were born into this life. Others, like you, were taken, captured in war, sold by debt, or stolen by fate. You rise quietly. A basin of cold water waits. You splash your face. There is no time to think, only to act. Your tasks today include cleaning the atrium, polishing bronze, preparing bread, and attending to your master's youngest son. You slip through the villa's corridors with practiced care. The marble floors must be swept before the family stirs. You move swiftly, the broom brushing against the cool stone. The atrium is still empty, its impluvium a shallow pool, gathering morning dew. The sun is just beginning to cast golden light through the open roof. From the kitchen, another slave calls softly. She needs help with the ovens. You assist in grinding grain on the stone quern, your arms aching as the millstone grinds endlessly. The flour is coarse, but it will do. Bread must be baked before sunrise. You knead the dough, shape it, place it into the domed oven, where coals glow faintly. The domina, the lady of the house, wakes first. You hear her footsteps above. The chamber slave rushes to assist her. You do not speak unless spoken to. When she descends to the atrium, you bow your head and move aside. The children rise next. The youngest, a boy of 5, is your charge today. He is spirited, prone to wandering. You help him dress, braid his belt, and lace his sandals. He doesn't thank you, but he doesn't strike you either. It is a good day. Breakfast is served. You assist in carrying trays, bread, cheese, olives, dates, watered wine. You remain still as statues while the family eats. If they need more of anything, you are there. If they need nothing, you remain invisible. Afterward, the master leaves for the forum. The children go to their tutors. The domina meets with the steward. And you begin your next task, polishing the bronze lamps and fixtures that line the household walls. Each one is intricately shaped. Lions, serpents, gods and goddesses. You rub them clean with oil and cloth until they gleam. Your hands are blackened, your back aches. By midday, you are sent to the market. A libertus, a freedman, gives you the list. You walk through the narrow streets of Rome, head low. People do not look at you. You are marked, a plain tunic, no belt, no shoes. You stop for bread, for fish, for wine. You count every coin. If you return short even by a little, you'll be beaten. The streets are noisy. Merchants shout, donkeys bray. A legionary patrol passes by, armor clinking. A boy bumps into you. He's gone before you can speak. One apple is missing from your basket. You pray the dominer doesn't notice. You return by the 6th hour. The ewe. Steward checks the goods. He frowns at the apple count. You are slapped, not hard, but enough to sting. You return to work. The master returns from the forum. You help remove his sandals, brush dust from his toga. He asks no questions. He does not look at you. He is not cruel. He is not kind. He is your dominus. He owns you. Dinner must be prepared. In the kitchen, the cooks shout orders. Slaves scurry, chopping herbs, crushing garlic, searing lamb, stirring lentils. You fetch wood, water, oil. You are burned twice. No one notices. Dinner is served at dusk. The family reclines. On couches, slaves bring platters. Fish glazed with honey, roasted duck, pears soaked in wine. Music plays from a flute. You remain in the shadows. The master calls for the boy. You lead him to the table. He sits cross-legged, mimicking his father. He spills wine on his tunic. You clean it before the stain sets. He calls you Canis, dog. The master laughs. After dinner you clean bones, olive pits, broken dishes. You sweep, you scrub, you wash. Your arms tremble. The dominer wants a bath. You carry heated water in clay jugs to the private bath chamber. You test the temperature. You help her undress. You're not allowed to speak. You avert your eyes. She says nothing. When she finishes, you carry away the soiled linen. Another slave scrubs the marble floor. The house grows quiet. You are dismissed. You return to the ergastulum. The air is thick. Some slaves already sleep. Others whisper softly. You lie on the straw. Your body aches. Your fingers are cracked. Your feet are blistered. You think of your mother, of your homeland. You do not remember your father's face. You once had a name. You say it sometimes, under your breath, when no one is near, just to hear it again. You dream of fields, of sunlight, of freedom. You wake to darkness and the soft sound beneath the public waters. A day in the Roman Thermae. The fire has burned all night, deep in the belly of the hippocaustum, where the brick chambers breathe heat beneath the bathhouse floor. You feed the furnace with oak logs soaked in, sweat and smoke. You are not seen by those who float above in the steam. You are part of the mechanism that keeps the Roman world warm, bathed and alive. You are a furnace boy. You wake when it's still dark. The air in the dormitory stinks of smoke, ash and oil. Other boys lie twisted on rough mats, coughing softly. You are the first to rise. Your shift starts before sunrise. You tie the leather cord around your tunic. It's already stiff with soot. You take the iron hook from the wall, the one used to shift logs deeper into the fire without burning your hands. Then you descend. The furnace is waiting. Its mouth glows red in the dark chamber. Ash clings to the walls like ancient frost. The sound it makes is constant, a quiet roar, like an angry lion asleep. You bend, pick up the logs, feed them in. One after another, you sweat. Even in the cold Roman morning, you sweat. Above you, the marble floors of the caldarium, the hottest bath will soon warm. You do not go there. That part of the bathhouse is for citizens, for soldiers, for senators, not for you. Once the fire is stable, you haul water. You pass through narrow corridors behind the public rooms. Pipes run overhead, terracotta, lead-lined, hissing with steam. You fill heavy amphorae from the cistern and pour them into the heating reservoirs. Your arms burn with the effort. Your back aches from yesterday. Other workers join you. Some are older slaves, some are freedmen. One man, Gaius, has a crooked back from years of carrying firewood. Another, Lucilla, manages the oil. She refills the flasks for massage and moisturization. She nods when she sees you. You nod back. Soon, the doors of the thermi open. A line forms even before the sun is high. Merchants, veterans, farmers, scholars. A senator's servant arrives with his master's sandals. He wants the laconicum heated to full intensity today. You nod. The fire must grow. You are sent to clean. Armed with a sponge on a stick, you scrape the stone benches of the tepidarium, where the air is warm and the light is golden. Salt and oil cling to every surface. The smell of sweat, lavender and wet limestone fills the air. You are invisible. Naked men pass by you without a glance. They recline, they chat, they joke. One shouts for more oil, another demands hotter water. You nod and obey. By the third hour, the bathhouse is full. The chorus of voices echoes in marble halls. Slaves oil, their masters' backs. Masseurs work tired shoulders. Philosophers debate in the corners. Dice clatter, laughter rolls. You do not pause to listen. You are called to the sudatorium, the steam room. Someone has vomited. You clean it. The heat inside is like a furnace. You feel faint, but the overseer is watching. You scrub, you mop, you carry more wood. In the frigidarium, the cold bath, a boy slips and cuts his foot. Blood blooms in the water. The room empties. You drain the pool, you scrub the tiles. Your hands are raw. By midday, you are sent to deliver oil. You pass through a hidden corridor to the women's wing. You knock, then wait. A matron opens the door a sliver. She snatches the flask without a word. You glimpse incense, silk robes, laughter, then the door shuts. You eat standing up. A barley cake hard as stone, a cup of watered wine, no time for more. The overseer barks orders. The palaestra must be swept. The latrine stinks. The coals in the tepidarium are low. You obey, always. Afternoon brings more firewood. You descend again into the hippocostum. The fire still lives. You feed it. You breathe in soot. It scratches your throat. The voices above continue. Bathers come and go. Some leave silver coins. Others leave trouble. One man strikes his slave. Another tries to sneak a prostitute past the guards. You look away. By late afternoon, the bathhouse quiets. The senator has left. The scholars are gone. The merchants return to their stalls. A final few linger in the warm water, floating like ghosts. You mop the corridors. You scrub the drains. You Collect towels, drenched, heavy, rank. You wash them in a barrel behind the building. Your fingers go numb. Night falls, the last bather leaves. The porters close the doors. You rake ash from the furnace, letting it cool. Tomorrow it will burn again. You wash in the cistern. The water is cold. You scrub your arms, your chest, your neck. The soot never leaves entirely. You lie on your mat. Around you, other workers sleep. Gaia snores. Lucilla mutters in her dreams. Your body is sore. But you did not burn yourself. You were not beaten. You did not collapse. You survived the day. You close your eyes. The fire still burns, somewhere deep beneath your dreams. Between scrolls and silence, a day in the life of a Roman scribe. The wax has hardened overnight. You wake just before dawn, not from noise, but from a sense of unfinished lines. Your fingers already twitch with imagined words. Today, like yesterday, will be quiet, save for the scratch of stylus on wax, the shuffle of sandals, and the rustle of scrolls. You are a servus literatus, a literate slave, owned by a wealthy dominus who oversees land, trade, and influence. You are not beaten often, not starved, not sent to the fields. Your chains are silent and made of letters. Your cell is small but clean. A narrow bed, a bench, a box with styluses, a pumice stone, beeswax tablets and worn scrolls. You dress simply. Tunic, belt, sandals. Your tools matter more than your clothes. As the villa stirs, you begin. You light the oil lamp. Its flame flickers against the plaster wall. You unwrap yesterday's wax tablet. The text is a copy of Cicero's letters. You must erase the previous marks by warming the wax gently and smoothing it with the flat side of the stylus. Any mistake, any smear, and the overseer will notice. The door creaks. A steward enters with new orders, a tally of grain exports, a contract to copy, and 3 letters dictated by the master himself. You nod. You bow. You do not speak. Your first task is copying the grain inventory. You sit at the long wooden desk in the villa's scriptorium, a narrow room that smells of ink, wax, and dry parchment. The columns of numbers are written in faded red ink. You transcribe them onto a fresh scroll, dipping the reed pen carefully into the inkwell. Your hand is steady. Your mind calculates as you write. Lines of numbers, columns of measures. From the fields of Campania to the granaries near the Tiber, grain moves like blood through the empire's veins. You mark every modius. Then come the dictated letters. The dominus enters mid-morning. He reclines on a couch, cup of wine in hand. You kneel on the floor with your wax tablet and stylus ready. He speaks slowly at first, then faster, Latin filled with nuance and rhetorical flourish. A greeting to a senator, a request to a merchant, a mild threat to a debtor. You scratch each word into the wax with practiced grace. Your shorthand is invisible to most. A curl means honor. A line through a vowel means negation. You will transcribe it all again later in clean ink. He finishes. You bow again. He does not look at you. You return to your desk and begin the real work, turning wax into ink. You slice thin parchment with a bone knife. You grind dried ink blocks with water in a small dish. You use a fine-tipped quill for clarity. Each letter must be perfect, each curve deliberate. You copy the salutation first. Gaius Domitius sends greetings. Then the body. Then the closing. You reread every word. The master's seal will be pressed into wax when it dries. Midday brings a short break, a small loaf of bread, a slice of cheese, water. No meat today. You eat quickly, alone in the corner of the scriptorium. Voices echo outside. Laughter from the kitchen, commands in the courtyard, horses clopping past the gates. You remain in silence. Afternoon brings the contract. It's an agreement between your master and a wine merchant. You must copy the original and create a duplicate. The language is dense, legal, repetitive. Every clause must be exact. If a word is missed or misread, the contract is void. You steady your hand. You write on papyrus now. Thicker, rougher than parchment. The ink bleeds more easily. You slow your pace. The quill scratches rhythmically, a soft whisper of control. The room smells of glue and dust. By late afternoon, your fingers cramp. You rub them gently with oil. You stretch your back. The sun begins to dip behind the cypress trees outside the villa window. You prepare the archive. All finished. Scrolls and tablets must be labeled and stored. You take each one, bind it with string, write the title and date on a small tag, and file it on the wooden shelves behind your desk. The library of a Roman master is a fortress of knowledge guarded by your hands. Evening falls. A tutor arrives. With his student, a boy of 12, you are asked to prepare lessons. You select a copy of Virgil's Aeneid and read aloud slowly. The boy stumbles over the lines. You correct him softly. The tutor scowls at your instruction, but says nothing. When they leave, you copy another page of Virgil by lamplight. The villa is quieter now. The clamor of the day fades. From the atrium comes the faint sound of a lyre. A slave girl sings a soft hymn to Diana. You close your scroll. You clean your stylus. You wipe ink from your fingers. You place the lamp on its hook. You return to your cell. Your back aches. Your eyes sting. But your work is done. You lie on your narrow bed. Not once today did you see blood. Not once did a whip crack. Not once did a guard shout, and yet your silence, your labor, your intellect, all of it is not yours. You drift to sleep thinking in Latin. You dream of wax, of scrolls, of words written in freedom. Market dust and morning deals. A day in the Roman Forum. The dust comes first, long before the sun crests over the tiled roofs of the Roman skyline, before the first cry of a bread seller pierces the calm, and before you've even uncrossed. Your aching legs from the cobbled step where you slept, there is dust. Dust stirred by hooves, by sandals, by wheeled carts rattling in the dark, by the city beginning its slow, grinding breath. You open your eyes. The stones beneath your hip are still cool. The tunic you wear, threadbare and stained, clings to your back from yesterday's sweat. You stretch, roll your shoulders and count your wares. You are a street vendor in the Forum Romanum. The box beside you holds exactly what it did last night. 6 clay amulets shaped like Mercury's winged foot, a pouch of dried fig slices wrapped in waxed linen, and 3 tiny carved bones meant to bring luck. Nothing glamorous, nothing grand. But maybe if Fortuna is gentle today, enough to get you through another dusk. You drink from the public fountain. The water is cool, brackish, tinged with the taste of bronze. A young boy beside you spits and wipes his mouth. Another man, a mule driver, washes blood from his hands. You fill a small cup and rinse your face. The forum wakes slowly. Shadows stretch across the great stones. Vendors begin assembling makeshift stalls from canvas and twine. Senators' slaves sweep the front steps of temples. Priests light incense before the altars. A stray dog licks crumbs from beneath the base of a statue. You claim your space quickly. It is a narrow strip between the Temple of Saturn and the Basilica Julia. Out of the guard's sight, but not too deep in shadow. You unfurl your woven mat. You lay out the amulets, the fig pouch, the bones. You say a soft prayer to Mercury, god of trade, liars and thieves. You hope he favors you today. Soon, the noise begins. Shouts, laughs, the scrape of stone on wheel. A woman crying out that her olives are the freshest from Tivoli. A man shouting the latest prices for wheat. The clinking of coins, the clash of argument. A boy runs past. He snatches one of your amulets and bolts. You leap to your feet. You shout, but you don't chase. You've seen the guards beat boys bloody for theft. You've also seen them do nothing. You sigh and sit. Your neighbor, an old man selling sandal straps, spits into the dust. He'll sell it to a sailor for double what it's worth, he mutters. You nod. You sell your first fig slice to a matron on her way to temple. She doesn't look at you. She drops a single as into your palm, takes the slice, and moves on. You bow anyway. By the 3rd hour the forum is full. Senators sweep through with entourages. Philosophers debate under porticos. Musicians pluck lyres. Beggars rattle cups. Soldiers on patrol push aside loiterers. A man stands on a crate, shouting accusations at a magistrate. 2 women argue over a bolt of dyed cloth. A baker's apprentice trips and spills a tray of flatbreads. You sell another amulet, then a bone charm. A girl with coal-lined eyes eyes your wares and asks, "Do they really bring luck?" You smile. You say, "Only if you don't doubt them." She laughs. She buys 2. Midday comes with heat. The marble steps glare with sunlight. The stone beneath you burns your thighs through the thin tunic. You move your mat to the shadow of a column and press a fig slice to your lips. It's sweet, the only thing. You'll eat today. You watch the magistrates in the rostra. They wear white togas edged in purple. One reads a new decree. Another listens to a farmer's complaint about taxes. The crowd jeers. A guard steps forward. The crowd hushes. Behind you, a man tries to sell fake coins. You hear the clink of metal on wood, the too smooth voice, guaranteed by Juno herself. A young legionary steps forward. The seller runs, the crowd laughs. You check your pouch, 4 asses, enough for a loaf. Maybe lentils. By the 9th hour, the forum begins to exhale. Shadows lengthen. The sun retreats behind the temple columns. The heat lifts slightly. A group of actors performs a short comedic play on the steps of the basilica. You laugh along with the crowd. Just once. Just a moment. You sell your last charm to a drunken clerk who thinks it looks like Mars's toenail. You smile, you don't correct him. The bread sellers pack up. The money lenders fold their tables. The senators depart in litters, carried by sweating slaves. One of them, a young boy, maybe no older than you, locks eyes with you as he passes. There is something tired there, or maybe you imagined it. You count your coins again. Enough. Not much, but enough. You pack your box, you fold the mat, you walk slowly past the silent statues, past the fading incense, past the echoes of argument and laughter. You sleep again on the step near the temple wall. The stone is still warm from the day's sun. You clutch your pouch to your chest, and as the forum fades into silence, the dust settles once more over the heart of the Roman world. The shadow of the laurel, a day in the life of a Roman cleaner. You awaken to the sound of dripping. The sound is slow, steady, water falling from a cracked pipe above your head into a shallow stone basin. Your straw mat is damp on one side. Your back is sore. You don't remember when you fell asleep, only that your hands had stopped moving. Your fingers are still clenched around the worn rag you were using the night before. It is just past the 4th hour. The sun has not yet risen over the tiled roofs of Rome, but already the city groans with life. The public latrine you clean, the Forica near the Subura district, is quiet for now. Quiet, but never clean. Never truly. You are a latrine slave. You don't remember your mother's face. You rise slowly. Your tunic is stained with filth, sweat, and lie. You splash cold water from the basin onto your arms, your face. The scent of ammonia rises around you like steam. It never leaves. Not really. It is in your hair, under your nails, in the cracks of your skin. The Forica is carved into the base of an old brick structure, likely once a warehouse. It holds a long stone bench with 20 holes carved in a line. Below, a stream flows through, a channel to wash waste away. That's the theory, anyway. The stream is sluggish, brown, and silent. You know every inch of it. You gather your tools, a worn bucket filled with vinegar water, a rag, a bronze scraper, a bundle of sticks bound tightly with cloth, tersorium used for wiping. You will clean and rinse dozens of them today. Outside, the street begins to stir. A cart passes. A donkey brays. A woman shouts at a child. You hear a distant clang, metal on metal, probably from the nearby smithy. Your world, however, remains half-lit and fetid. A man enters. He's a baker by his smell, his apron dusted with flour. He nods, but does not look you in the eye. He squats over the hole, grunts softly. You turn away, respectfully. Not that he would have cared. When he leaves, you begin your work. Scrub the stone, douse it with vinegar. Pour water down the channel. Replace the used tersorium. Rinse it in the basin outside. Repeat over and over. By the 6th hour, the Forica is full. Men of all kinds come and go. Laborers, shopkeepers, porters, even a low-ranking senator who covers his face with a cloth and leaves quickly. A group of boys lingers, giggling, carving something obscene into the stone with a nail. You ask them to stop. They throw a dried fig at you and laugh. You bend to clean the stones. A woman enters, rare but not unheard of. Her face is bruised. She doesn't speak. She uses the corner stall and leaves without rinsing. You clean in silence. By the 8th hour, the heat becomes unbearable. The air inside the latrine thickens. Flies buzz in. Clouds. Your arms burn from the lye. Your feet ache from standing on wet stone. Still, you work. Sometimes you think of escape. You know the layout of the alleys. You could disappear into the crowd. But where would you go? What would you eat? You are branded on your arm. Even if you made it to the countryside, someone would find you. Someone always does. So you stay, you work, you breathe, you serve. A guard comes in around the 9th hour. He recognizes you. He leaves a coin on the stone bench, a small mercy. You nod in thanks. It will buy you a crust of bread later. You pause at the basin and rinse your face again. The water is warm now and rank, but it cools your skin. You dream sometimes of open spaces, of silence, of a breeze that does not carry the scent of feces and vinegar, but the dream fades quickly, always. By the 10th hour, the crowds thin. You scrub again, rinse the stone, scrape the dried waste from the drains. You tip the bucket, watch brown water. Swirl and disappear. You wring out your rag, and the sound echoes strangely. You find a silver ring wedged behind the bench. For a moment your heart jumps, but it is too large for your fingers, and if anyone sees it with you, you'll be whipped. You leave it where it is. Let someone else find it. Let them decide. The sun begins to fall. The latrine grows quiet again. A rat scurries across the threshold. You chase it with a hiss. The city outside sounds like distant thunder, people shouting, carts rattling, the deep call of horns near the capital. You mop the last patch of stone. You rinse the final tersorium. You stack the bucket, the rag, the scraper. Your shoulders ache. You sit on the edge of the stone bench alone now. You watch the drip, drip, drip from the pipe above. You wonder how long it's been leaking. You wonder if anyone will ever fix it. Small breeze sneaks in from the doorway. You lift your face to it, close your eyes. You smell the faintest trace of roasted meat from a nearby stall. You will sleep in the latrine tonight. Again. No one else wants to. And in the shadows of the Roman Empire, where the laurels never reach, the firefighters of Rome, guardians in a city of flames. The city of Rome is an awe-inspiring spectacle, a sprawling urban labyrinth packed with soaring temples, bustling markets and winding alleys. Yet beneath its grandeur lies an ever-present threat: fire. The vast majority of buildings are constructed from wood and other flammable materials stacked close together with little regard for fire breaks or safety regulations. The narrow streets and densely packed neighborhoods turn into tinderboxes, vulnerable to destruction at any moment. You are a vigile urbani, one of the men tasked with the near impossible job of keeping Rome safe from conflagration. Your position is not glamorous, far from the honored legionary or the wealthy patrician, but the city depends on you. Your day begins long before dawn, as a thick layer of smoke and soot hangs in the air. The smell of burning charcoal mingles with the odors of the city's open sewers. You pull on your worn leather armor, fashioned more for durability than comfort. Around your waist, a thick belt holds a leather bucket, a hooked pole for tearing down burning wood, and a small axe. The vigiles are part firefighter, part night watch, part police force. Their role is to patrol Rome's districts, extinguish fires, break into buildings if needed, and keep order after dark. They are armed, but their weapons are more suited for controlling crowds than battle. The alarm bell clangs suddenly in the barracks. A fire has broken out in the Subura, one of Rome's poorest, most crowded neighborhoods. The residents here live in cramped insulae, apartment buildings made of timber and brick, several stories high, many constructed hastily with scant regard for safety. The potential for disaster is enormous. You and your comrades race out through the pre-dawn streets, the air thick with smoke and dust. The cries of terrified families mingle with the roar of the flames. Flames leap from windows and roofs, lighting up the dark sky with a hellish glow. The heat hits you instantly, a burning wave that sears your skin even through your armor. A human chain forms. Buckets pass swiftly from hand to hand. The water comes from the nearby Tiber, lugged in leather sacks or drawn from wells. You jab your hooked pole into the burning timbers, pulling them down to create fire breaks, gaps where the fire cannot spread. The sound of cracking wood, the hiss of steam as water hits flame, and the cries of the frightened fill the night. The chaos is overwhelming. People shove and scream, desperate to save what little they own. Children cling to their mothers. Some refuse to leave their homes, locked in by fear or denial. You cough uncontrollably, eyes watering from the smoke. Your muscles ache, heart pounding as adrenaline and exhaustion fight for dominance. Despite the terror, you feel a fierce determination. If the vigils fail, whole swaths of Rome could be lost. Hours pass. The fire slowly loses strength, finally quelled by sheer human effort and the falling dawn. The damage is immense. Dozens of buildings reduced to charred ruins, hundreds displaced, lives upended. The vigiles regroup, weary and battered, their clothes soaked and singed. Yet even as you rest, there is no time for relief. Another call could come at any moment. Through it all, you bear witness to the fragile balance between survival and disaster in the eternal city. You are a guardian of flame and order in a place where both can turn deadly in seconds. As the morning sun rises over the Tiber River, casting long shadows across the rubble-strewn streets of Subura, the stark reality of the fire's aftermath becomes clear. The air is thick with the acrid smell of smoke and charred wood, mingling with the cries of those who have lost their homes and possessions. You move among the ruins, your leather gear stained with soot, your body aching from the relentless battle. Against the flames, the Subura is one of the most densely populated quarters of Rome, home to artisans, laborers, and the urban poor. Its narrow alleys and overcrowded insulae were a tinderbox waiting to ignite, and now the fire has left many destitute. You see families huddled in the street, clutching what little they salvaged, faces marked by fear and exhaustion. The local ediles, Rome's municipal officials, will inspect the damage soon. Their role is to assess the destruction, determine liability, and coordinate relief efforts. But you know that despite their official duties, the poor will bear the brunt of the loss. Wealthier citizens have the means to rebuild quickly, often in more fire-resistant stone, while those in Subura face long months of hardship and displacement. Your unit returns to the barracks, weary but vigilant. The Vigile's job is never done. As guardians of the city, you must remain alert for the next blaze or outbreak of disorder. Fires in Rome are often accidental, caused by open flames in cooking or heating. But some suspect arson, whether from disgruntled residents, political rivals, or opportunistic criminals. Your captain orders a meeting. The Vigiles discuss patrol routes, strategies to improve water access, and tactics for quicker fire containment. You listen, noting the wisdom and experience shared by older comrades. Their knowledge is the only thing standing between Rome and catastrophe. Later, you make your rounds through quieter neighborhoods. The streets are cleaner, the buildings sturdier, but the threat lingers. At night, the Vigiles double their patrols, checking taverns and public spaces for unruly behavior and signs of fire. The city's vibrant nightlife is both a blessing and a curse. Joyful gatherings can quickly spiral into violence or accident. One night, you are called to a tavern where a drunken brawl has broken out. Using your authority and weapons, you help restore order. The crowd disperses, but you are reminded that the Vigils are also peacekeepers. Your role blends firefighting, policing, and neighborhood watch. Between emergencies, you train, carrying heavy water buckets, practicing your axe swings, and maintaining equipment. The Vigiles are a tough lot, hardened by hardship and relentless vigilance. Yet camaraderie grows strong, forged in shared danger. The life of a Vigile is far from glamorous. Pay is meager, respect limited. You are often seen as the lowliest servants of Rome's power, forgotten by those who bask in the city's splendor. But deep down, you know your work is vital. Without your courage and endurance, Rome's shining monuments would be ash and rubble. Weeks pass. Fires flare occasionally, but none as fierce as the Subura blaze. You and your fellow Vigiles respond. Swiftly, your experience making each victory a little easier. Still, the threat of disaster remains a constant shadow over your days. One evening, as the sun sets behind the Capitoline Hill, you stand watch atop the city walls. The glow of torches flickers in distant homes, and the murmurs of life drift through the cooling air. Rome is alive, a city of contradictions, beauty and danger, power and fragility. You feel the weight of responsibility settle on your shoulders. You are the guardian of flame and order, the unsung protector of an empire. And though your name will never be sung in the forums or inscribed on marble, your vigilance ensures the artisans of Rome, hands that built an empire. The heartbeat of ancient Rome pulsed not only through its marble temples or grand forums, but in the hands of its countless artisans and laborers. These were the men and women who forged the empire's tangible legacy, crafting everything from intricate jewelry to sturdy tools, from vast aqueducts to the everyday pottery that filled homes across the city. Imagine yourself as a craftsman in the bustling city streets, where your workshop is a small, cramped space at the back of your family's insula. The air is thick with dust and the sharp scent of metal, clay, or wood shavings, depending on your trade. Your hands are calloused and your skin darkened by soot or clay. From dawn until dusk, you toil, shaping raw materials into items both functional and beautiful. But life is not easy for you. The streets outside are noisy, chaotic, and dangerous. There is little regulation or protection for workers. Competition is fierce, and every day brings the pressure to produce or starve. Your clients range from humble plebeians seeking practical goods to wealthy patricians commissioning luxury items. Yet no matter their status, your pay is meager and your hours long. Disease, injury, and fatigue shadow every step. You work alongside apprentices, often your own children, teaching them the craft but also the harsh realities of survival in Rome. The guilds, early associations of craftsmen, offer some solidarity, but their power is limited. As a craftsman, you witness the city's grand projects: roads, aqueducts, public baths, rise and fall. You supply the raw materials, the labor, and sometimes the ingenuity. Yet much of your contribution goes unrecognized beyond your neighborhood. The city depends on your skills, but you remain one of its invisible pillars. The city of Rome, with all its grandeur and imperial might, owes much of its splendor to the countless artisans who labored daily in its shadows. From the delicate jeweler carefully setting stones in gold rings, to the rough-hewn stonemason chiseling blocks for the latest aqueduct, these workers formed the backbone of the empire's tangible achievements. Imagine waking at dawn in your small apartment, an insula shared with several other families, cramped into barely sufficient space. The air is thick with dust, the smells of bread baking from a nearby oven mixing with the sharp scent of iron or wet clay from the workshops below. Your fingers are calloused from years of shaping wood or metal, your clothes stained with sweat and soot. Today, as every day, you prepare your tools and materials for a long shift. Your trade might be that of a blacksmith, a potter, a carpenter, or a weaver. But regardless, your work is grueling and your hours long. The city's appetite for goods is unrelenting. Every citizen, from a senator in the hills of the Palatine to a poor plebeian in the suburb, needs tools, clothing, household items, or weapons. Your reputation hinges on the quality of your work, and your survival depends on your ability to meet demand. In your cramped workshop, lit dimly by oil lamps or morning sunlight filtering through small windows, you sit bent over your latest commission, a bronze oil lamp intricately molded with figures of gods and animals. Apprentices gather nearby, watching intently as you demonstrate the finishing touches. Teaching the next generation is a sacred duty, but also a necessary one, for your craft cannot die with you. Outside, the streets buzz with life. Merchants shout their wares, children play noisily, and the clatter of horse-drawn carts echoes from the stone-paved roads. But danger lurks even here. Fires can erupt with devastating speed, diseases spread easily in the cramped quarters, and political unrest can quickly turn violent. Every day, you balance the precarious line between survival and ruin. Your guild offers some protection, a collective bargaining force that regulates quality and sets prices. But the power it wields pales compared to that of Rome's ruling elite. Guild meetings are a place for camaraderie and mutual support, yet behind closed doors, rivalries simmer and conflicts flare. You learn to navigate these complexities carefully, for a misstep could mean losing contracts or worse. Despite the hardships, your work instills pride. You know that your hands shape the empire, that your efforts contribute to the majesty that surrounds you. The aqueducts that bring fresh water to the city, the roads that link distant provinces, the temples that honor the gods, all bear the mark of your craft, but recognition is scarce. The great orators and generals claim the glory while you remain nameless. Still, you continue day after day, forging a legacy in sweat and stone. Your day stretches on, a rhythm of repetitive motions and delicate precision. If you are a potter, your hands expertly shape the spinning wheel, coaxing the clay into bowls and amphorae that will carry wine and olive oil across the empire. If you are a blacksmith, the hammer strikes metal on the anvil, sparks flying as you forge nails, horseshoes, or weapons for Rome's legions. The city's construction boom means constant demand for skilled labor. You might find yourself called to the site of a new insula, climbing wooden scaffolds to carve stone blocks or mix mortar. The dust grinds into your lungs, and the risk of falls or injury is ever present. Yet this work is vital, helping to house the city's swelling population. Women, too, play their part in the artisan class. You might be a textile worker, spinning wool or flax, weaving cloth in tight patterns for tunics and togas. Your work is invisible yet essential, clothing not. Only the citizens, but the soldiers who march on Rome's frontiers. You may also craft small household goods, jewelry or pottery, contributing both to family income and the bustling market economy. The markets are a cacophony of sound and color. You sell your wares alongside other craftsmen, shouting to attract buyers, bartering for fair prices. Competition is fierce, and the risk of theft or fraud looms large. You guard your tools jealously and keep close watch on your stock. Despite the struggles, the social bonds among artisans are strong. You gather with fellow workers in the local tavern after a long day, sharing stories of hardship and small triumphs. These moments of fellowship remind you that you are part of a community, a thread in the fabric of Rome. Political power lies elsewhere, in the hands of senators and equestrians, but the artisan class is essential. Without your labor, Rome's mighty infrastructure would crumble. You provide the tangible foundation for an empire that boasts aqueducts carrying millions of gallons of water, roads spanning thousands of miles, and buildings of marble and concrete that inspire awe. However, the life of an artisan is precarious. Disease is rampant. Injuries from tools and accidents are common. The lack of modern medicine means that even minor wounds can turn fatal. Many artisans die young. Their families left to struggle on without their support. Children are often apprenticed early, learning the trade from their parents. Education is practical, focused on skills rather than letters. Few artisans can read or write, but their hands know the language of craft. Occasionally, an artisan's skill gains fame, and patrons commission lavish works. But such opportunities are rare, and the rewards modest. Most remain anonymous, their lives overshadowed by the grand narratives of emperors and generals. At home, your insula is cramped and noisy. The walls are thin. Neighbors' disputes and cries echo through the night. Sanitation is poor, and the risk of fire ever present. You fear the collapse of your building or a sudden blaze consuming all you've worked for. Yet, in the early morning, light, you rise again. With worn tools and steady hands you face the day, for in your labor lies the strength of Rome, the city built not only by emperors, but by the countless hands that shape its stones, mold its clay, and weave its cloth. And though history may forget your name, the legacy of your work endures, etched into every corner of the eternal city. The streets of Rome, life among the plebs. The city of Rome was a vast, sprawling metropolis, home to nearly 1 million inhabitants at its peak. But the true heart of the city beat in its crowded streets and cramped neighborhoods, where the ordinary people, the plebeians, lived, worked, and struggled to survive. These streets were alive with noise, color, and danger. They were places of commerce, gossip, conflict, and community all at once. Picture yourself waking in a tiny room in an insula, one of the many multi-story apartment buildings packed tightly together. The air is thick with the smell of cooking fires, human sweat, and the occasional whiff of sewage from the overflowing gutters below. You share this room with your family, parents, siblings, maybe even grandparents, in a space barely large, enough to move. Outside, the street is already bustling. Vendors shout the day's deals: fresh bread, fruits, vegetables, fish, and cheap wine. Children dart between the legs of passers-by, playing games despite the dirt and filth. The clatter of carts over cobblestones mixes with the calls of prostitutes, beggars, and street performers. The noise never truly stops. At night, drunken soldiers stagger home, shouting insults and sometimes engaging in fights. Crime is common, and the city's law enforcement is often overwhelmed. You learn quickly to be wary, to keep your valuables hidden, and to avoid dark alleys. Your daily life is a constant hustle. Perhaps you work as a street vendor, selling food or household goods, or as a laborer hauling materials for construction. Jobs are scarce and poorly paid, but the city offers opportunity, if you can survive long enough to seize it. Water comes from public fountains, which you visit early each morning to fill your jugs. Bathhouses are a place of socializing and hygiene, but can be expensive for regular visits. Sanitation is poor, and diseases like dysentery spread rapidly, especially after the hot Roman summers. Yet, amidst the hardship, the plebs find moments of joy and solidarity. Festivals, Religious celebrations and gladiatorial games offer distraction and entertainment. Local taverns and inns serve as gathering places where stories are told, deals struck, and friendships forged. Despite the harshness, you feel a sense of belonging. These streets are your home, shaped by generations before you and carrying the pulse of the empire. Your struggles are part of the larger story of Rome, a city of contrasts, where wealth and poverty, splendor and squalor